OK, alors bonsoir tout le monde. J'espère que vous allez bien. Merci d'être connecté à nous aujourd'hui. Hi Josh, I hope you're doing well. So welcome to our team call, and also thank you to saying yes to lead this call tonight. I will first introduce you to the team, and I'll let you speak after that. Alors, bonsoir tout le monde. Je vous présente Josh qui est là. Je pense qu'il parle majoritairement en anglais, alors je vais faire la présentation en français pour vous. Ça va être plus facile pour moi, comme vous pouvez le voir. Mais pour vrai, c'est fou. Je sens que ce soir, vous allez vous coucher la tête remplie d'idées. Cette personne-là, elle est extraordinaire. Donc, c'est un coach business, un coach push pour les entrepreneurs, beaucoup dans le marketing de réseau aussi. Il a aidé énormément de top coachs à se développer dans cette business-là, mais aussi à soit rester top coach ou à se développer puis à devenir top coach. Donc, il travaille avec tous les différents types de coachs, des filles qui sont sérieuses en fait dans cette business-là, mais autant qui commencent que plus expérimentées. Puis vraiment, son dada, c'est beaucoup, sa force, c'est le recrutement, le marketing, derrière tout ça, tout ce qui est mentoré, l'idée. Fait que lui, il a écrit d'ailleurs un livre très, très populaire qui a connu énormément de succès qui s'appelle Fuck Leadership ou Fuck Business, quelque chose comme ça, qui parle de comment motiver et mentorer son équipe pour avoir plus de succès vraiment à travers toute notre généalogie. Puis voilà, donc vous allez le voir dans sa personnalité, il est juste extraordinaire. Ce soir, il nous parle vraiment du recrutement. Donc, prenez des notes. Je vous demande, si vous avez des questions, de les écrire en anglais. Comme ça, moi, je vais juste les copier-coller. Puis à la fin, je vais juste comme lui donner les questions en anglais pour qu'il puisse les écrire. Ça va être plus facile pour moi parce qu'il est traduire comme ça. Je préfère avoir toute ma tête ce soir pour lui de toute manière. Alors voilà. So Josh, thank you again. I know you don't understand a lot, but I spoke about you, about your business, about how you are amazing, and we can wait to listen to you and learn from you.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it so much, and I'm so excited. How many is everybody a Canadian friend? Do I have all Canadian friends? Okay, I love my Canadian friends. I hadn't been to Canada until I spoke at the Super Saturday in Toronto. Was that about a year ago? I think maybe something like that. And then I went to Edmonton a couple months later, and I loved every moment of being in Canada and meeting my Canadian friends. So just so you know, you really are nicer and friendlier and happier than people in the United States. So regardless of what we might say, we're all lying. Everyone in Canada really is happier and smarter. I don't know if it's the free health insurance or that you guys are just nicer people. I don't know what it is, but thank you so much for having me on the call. I appreciate it so much. I'm excited, so excited to be here. Before I forget, I just want to make one quick announcement, and we're going to jump right into stuff. I have a book right now, okay, that you want to get. It's amazing. Now, unfortunately, we're sending free copies to people in the United States because shipping is cheap. You can get it on Amazon, but I did something really special for you guys tonight. Before I got on the call, I made sure and finished up a brand new page on my website that allows you to download the audiobook for free. So you don't have to worry about shipping or any of that stuff. You can go to joshcoates.com/audiobook. Sometimes it's really weird. You got to put the www in. If you don't do that, sometimes it comes up as like a weird page. So I'm just going to type it in here for you, /audiobook. You can go there and get my book for free. I always feel bad when I hop on a team call and I'm like, if you're in Canada, I'm sorry, I can't send you a free copy because shipping is like 40 American dollars. That's like 60 Canadian dollars just to get you a book that you can buy on Amazon for $20. But you can now get the audiobook for free and listen to it, okay? So what I want to talk to you about tonight is what I call the success formula, okay? And this is a formula. I talk about it a little bit in my book. It's not quite as much leadership oriented, although it does apply to leadership. It really applies. What I want to teach you tonight will apply at any level in your business, regardless of what you're going through, regardless of what you're struggling with. If you are someone who's new, maybe you just joined the team, first of all, welcome. It's always like a big time honor if I get to speak on someone's like very first team call that they're on. Super excited to hang with you tonight. This will apply to the beginning of your journey, whether it's getting started on social media or starting to send those invites that are scaring the crap out of you. If you're a little bit further in the business and maybe social media is becoming more comfortable, but you're struggling with Success Club, or maybe you're to the next level where Success Club is now a cinch, but you're trying to recruit people. Or maybe you are recruiting people and they aren't doing any of the stuff you want them to do. Regardless of where you're at, this formula is going to apply if you'll take this formula and apply it to that specific area, okay? FYI, it is true personal growth, which means it also applies to relationships, to parenting, to training your dog, whatever it is you need to do in life, okay? But tonight we're going to talk about business, and the formula is this. I want you to write this down because you're 80% more likely to remember it, okay? It says this: consistency plus intensity plus worth plus time equals anything you want. I'll say it again for you. Consistency plus intensity plus worth plus time equals anything you want. So whether, again, you're trying to just get your social media going, whether you're trying to start making sales, wherever you currently feel stuck, I want you to take what I'm teaching tonight and I want you to think about how it applies to that specific part of your business that you feel stuck right now as I go through each one of these, okay? So let's start with consistency, okay? Next to consistency, I want you to just simply write doing the right things. Doing the right things. So let me talk to you a little bit about where people take consistency out of context and they think of it all wrong. And the easiest way with a bunch of health and fitness coaches to help you understand this is I want you to imagine someone comes to you. They say, Joni, here's the thing. I don't understand why I can't lose weight. I signed up for a gym membership 3 years ago. And you say, okay, you signed up for a gym membership, but how often do you go? Well, some weeks I go 5 days a week. Some weeks I go 1 day a week. And sometimes, it's the holidays and I go once a month. And you look at them like they're stupid, because that's how you should look at someone that says they don't understand why they can't lose weight just because they've been signed up for the gym for 3 years. And what do you probably ask them? Well, okay, you do realize that if you want to lose weight, you have to do some type of routine consistently, right? Like being signed up for the gym doesn't equal losing weight, correct? Like you guys get where I'm going with this? I get on calls with people all the time, and the first thing they want to tell me is how long they've been signed up. I don't know if this is like a cussing friendly call. Most of my Canadian friends are okay with it because it's technically French, right? Like isn't fuck French? Is that correct? I'm just kidding. We always say excuse my French when we cuss. I have no idea where that comes from, but maybe it just means French people are like way cooler with cussing. But the first thing I say to people is like, who the fuck cares how long you've been signed up? Like, what does that even matter? Josh, I've been a Beachbody coach for 3 years. I don't fucking care. Like, I don't care when you signed up. Like, big whoop. What does that is the same as someone telling me that they signed up for the gym 3 years ago. I don't give a fuck. I want to know, how many times have you been to the gym? So when it comes to your business, the first thing you have to do is stop giving yourself credit for something that you haven't done. Stop checking off boxes that don't even matter. Well, I've been signed up and I drink my Shakeology every day. Good for you. That doesn't equal getting paid. Drinking Shakeology is great for your health and you need to do it every day. But you know what? You don't get paid for that. So don't take credit for that in your business as like, well, I don't understand why this isn't working. Or how about this? How about posting on social media? Should you do it every day? Of course you should. Okay? But teenagers post on social media every day and they don't expect to get paid for it. Like, no one outside of Beachbody is stupid enough to be like, I don't understand why checks aren't showing up in my mailbox. I mean, I post on social media. every single day. Nobody else is that stupid. And you can make rap videos every single day, and you can do TikTok, and all of this stuff is positive stuff to do, but it's not necessarily the full picture of all of the right things it takes to actually get paid. Do you see what I'm saying? And what I have found in mentoring Beachbody coaches for 5 years now, that's how long I've been doing team calls. I've spoke on at least one team call for 5 years now. That's 52 times 5. That's 250 plus team calls that I've spoke on. And this is what I have found through the entire network, that even the people on the team calls, this should be the most committed people, right? This should be my homies that are all in, that are ready to do this. Throw on your TBB ball cap and we're ready to do some business, right? And even on team calls, 90% of you don't do invites at least 5 days a week and then are frustrated that hitting Success Club is a challenge. That just doesn't make sense to me. Now, I've definitely had seasons in my life where I wasn't as dedicated as I should have been, but then when I didn't get the results I should have got, I was at least smart enough to go, well, that's my own damn fault. I should have done something more about it. We have this epidemic of people thinking they deserve a paycheck because they post on social media and use hashtags. And I need you to understand, if you want to have a business, you have to think like a fucking business, not like a 15-year-old girl who loves social media. And the only way you have a business is if you make sales. And the only way you make sales is if you talk to other humans, not about their dog, although that's okay to start a conversation, okay? Not about the weather, not about coronavirus, even though all of these things are okay to start conversations. You have to actually ask people if they want to try your products and if they want to join your team. And if you don't do those two things, your business will never grow. And I don't care how many Instagram trainings you sign up for, and I don't care how many TikTok trainings you sign up for, and I don't care how many apps you have on your phone that will help you to filter your pictures properly. None of that shit matters if you don't talk to humans about your products and your team. If you aren't doing the right things, guys, something's got to change. And the reason I'm so passionate about this is because my whole 20s, I was lost and I was broke and I was struggling. And when I joined the John Maxwell team and decided to turn this into a business, I made a promise to God and to myself that I would do whatever I had to do to learn whatever I had to learn to make this business work. One, for my own family, because I was sick and tired of asking my mom, as a 28-year-old grown adult with 3 kids, asking my mom to borrow money to pay our rent so we didn't get kicked out of our apartment. I was sick and tired of telling my kids they couldn't go to birthday parties because daddy didn't have the money to buy their friend a present. Sick and tired of telling my kids, no, sorry, we can't go out to eat. Daddy doesn't have the money. And so when I decided to do this business, I decided I would do whatever I was told for however long it took. And I come across people every single day that have made the same promises to God, made the same promises to their families, and aren't keeping their end of the deal. And I need you to understand that you and only you are in control of your destiny. But too many of you are giving up that control to hope. Just hoping someday, somehow, some way, it'll eventually work out. And that's not positivity, guys. That's denial. Sometimes we like to throw in this positivity word like it's a good thing. The only thing I'm positive about is that there's always a solution, and that if I'm willing to look for it and do the work it takes, I can solve the problem. But some of you use positivity to avoid the fact that there's a problem altogether. That's avoidance, and that is not healthy, and that will not get you anywhere in life. And if Beachbody has taught you anything, I hope that it has taught you that you can take control of your health, right? By taking control of your habits, your business is the same way. You can take control of your finances if you take control of your habits and do something new. Does that make sense? So the first thing is you got to take ownership for your actions. And that's why in my training groups, I put people on a digital tracker and I make you show me on a daily basis what you are doing. I make you show me that you're living by my system. And once a week, we call you out in a post and you got 48 hours to get your activities caught up or you get kicked out of my group. I kick people out that are paying me money. Because a couple years ago, I decided I was sick and tired of people paying me money to listen to me talk if they weren't going to show up and do the work. Like, I don't really want to get paid to just talk. I want to get paid to help you change your life. And so I hold my clients to a really, really, really high standard of action. Not learning, action. And if you keep doing the actions, then I'll keep teaching you the next lesson that you need to learn. But if you ain't going to do the next action, I can promise you the lesson don't even matter. Does that make sense? I want you to write this down. We constantly judge others based on their actions and ourself based on our intentions. We constantly judge others based on their actions and ourselves based on our intentions. Even though this is a leadership book, I spend the first probably 7 chapters talking about self-evaluation and self-performance because nobody wants to follow the person that doesn't live up to what they preach. And unfortunately, as humans, sometimes we're way better at preaching than we are living. And the first step to leadership is I got to come up with some type of a tracking system that forces me to be honest with myself. And that's why I love, whether it be on paper or whether it be digital, I need to see what you've done, not hear what you've done. Because it's real easy to lie about what you've done based on what you feel like you remember doing. If you intended to do invites every single day, you gave yourself credit for that, even if you only did it 2 days. And if you want to grow a business, you're going to have to hold yourself to a much higher standard than that. I mean, I want you guys to just sit and think about this for a second. Do you really think that making 6 figures is that easy? If making 6 figures a year, if becoming a millionaire were really that easy, don't you think everybody would be sitting around with $1 million? The point is, it's not that easy. Now, it is that simple. There are some very simple things you have to do on a daily basis, just like health and fitness, right? Wouldn't you guys all agree that anyone can be healthy if they're willing to do the simple actions? Correct? Same way, I believe that everyone can make 6 figures or become a millionaire or whatever it is you want to do. Some of you don't even care about that yet. Some of you just want to make an extra $500 to help pay rent or your mortgage or a car payment. Whatever that thing is for you, I need you to understand it's just as simple as health. You just have to be the person who's disciplined enough to do those things. Because if you could get it without discipline, let's be real, we would all sit around and eat Ben & Jerry's ice cream every single night, all night long. I mean, I would just eat it all night. I love ice cream so much. If I could eat ice cream and still have 6-pack abs, you better believe I got to go non-dairy, but some coconut ice cream. I could eat the shit out of that all night, every night. If that gave me 6-pack abs, I'm all in. But notice it's okay to have ice cream sometimes, but if you have it all the time, your abs are hiding somewhere, okay? It's the same for your business. You have to be more disciplined than other people if you want to get what other people don't have. Does that make sense? Okay, let's move on to number 2. Number 2 is intensity. Now, Consistency is what you show up to do. Intensity is how you show up to do it. So let's go back to the gym equation, okay? You got two people. One person shows up. Let's pretend they have some type of a class, okay? Somebody's teaching a PIO class that everybody wants to go to, okay? And you show up and you got two girls. One girl goes up to the very front, gets there 10 minutes early, and she is ready to go. And the very second the instructor starts the music, she is ready to freaking go. And she's jumping around and she's kicking and she's punching. And the teacher says jump and she says how high? And she's reaching for the ceiling. And she is literally all in. I'm going to do every single move to the maximum. I'm going to challenge myself every single time. And then there's another girl sitting in the back. And she shows up 10 minutes late every day. And she's a little insecure, so she doesn't really want anybody to see her, so she hides in the back corner. She also doesn't really want to challenge herself because that's kind of scary. So instead of going all in, she does the modifications. And it's okay to do the modifications if you need to. But she's now been doing the modifications for the last year. She really could jump and touch the ceiling. The truth is, she doesn't really want to challenge herself. She kind of just wants to be there and go through the motions. Tell me this. Is there a difference in the results those two girls get? Yes or no? I would say 100% there's a difference in the results those two girls get. Some of you listen to the first part of the call and you're like, homeboy, I'm all about that tracker and I check off every single mark. And I'm always here and I show up and I do the things that I'm supposed to do. But you're the girl sitting in the back of the class who doesn't really want to challenge herself. You do the bare minimum, but nothing more. You don't show up on social media ready to take over the world. You show up on social media because someone told you you had to. You don't make that transformation post because you are so fucking excited about your journey that you want to share it with the world. You make your transformation post because, well, honestly, it was the homework assignment that Marie told you to do. So you just did it. Do you see the difference, guys? I need you to understand that the intensity you bring has everything to do with how effective your actions are. Now, I want to give you a real easy example right now. Think about, do you guys see my hands moving as I'm speaking? Do you feel the energy coming out of me? Okay. Now, I've actually been sick all day. I did one call earlier today, and then I passed out in my bed for 2 hours, and I've been laying on the couch all day. I've been sick all day. But I knew there's no point of even showing up tonight unless I'm going to bring my A game because people's lives are depending on it. So I took a half a scoop of Energize, and I'm going to give you everything I've got, even if that means I pass out afterwards, because I understand this very simple concept. If I don't bring my A game, it's not enough to interrupt what you have going on in your life and get your attention and get the message that I have from my heart to your heart. Because you're on social media. People are just doing this. And you think that just saying, shoulders done, is going to get their attention? You think that just throwing up a transformation picture without pouring out your heart and soul is going to get it done? You think that just because you do the act. Guys, we live in a world where there are distractions everywhere. And my goal is to be the loudest human in the room every single time to make sure I get your attention. Now, I want you to understand, you don't have to be loud and obnoxious like me, but you have to bring something to the table, and it always has to be passion. And everyone's passion is expressed in different ways, and that's okay. You don't have to be outgoing to be successful. I can promise you that. 90% of seven-figure Beachbody coaches that I personally know are introverts, okay? You don't have to be an extrovert like me, but you do have to learn to tap into your passion. And you have to show up with a little bit of a chip on your shoulder. You got to show up with a little bit of an attitude, and you got to say and do something that gets people's attention, or you ain't going to go nowhere. You have to be hungry. You got to be the girl that shows up 10 minutes early and sits in the front row and follows the instructor step by step, punch by punch, kick by kick. You guys see what I'm saying? You got to bring something extra. Your intensity is your X factor. Okay. The X factor is the thing that makes the difference that you can't really measure. Okay. In sports, I'm a big time sports fan. Anytime there's like a big game, first thing they do is they talk about the star of the team. The star of the team has to show up, be their best. But then they always talk about the X factor. And the X factor is the guy on the team that no one really necessarily talks about, but when he doesn't show up, it cripples the team. Does that make sense? For all my hockey fans, you got the guy that's I don't know a ton about hockey, so I might get my verbiage wrong a little bit here, but I'm enough of a sports guy I can roll with any sport in the world, okay? I know enough about hockey that you got one guy that scores most of the points, and you got another guy whose number one job is to defend the guy and keep him safe so that he can score those points, right? And he's some big burly ass dude. He's not the quickest guy. He's not the most skilled guy, but he is the guy you don't want to run into in the parking lot alone in the middle of the night. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's scary guy. And if that guy doesn't bring his A game, the guy who's supposed to score all of his points can't score all of his points because he's basically getting tackled every single play because there's not really any rules in hockey. It's just, you just go at it until somebody scores or kicks the shit out of each other, right? I need you to understand that if consistency is your top scorer, intensity is the defender that's keeping him from getting his ass kicked every night. Your intensity is the X factor, and without it, your consistency kind of loses its purpose. Does that make sense? Now, let's go on to the third thing, worth. For the word worth, I want you to do something really special with it. I want you to put it in all caps, and I want you to put parentheses around it. And here's why. Because worth is the only part of the equation that's given, and yet it's the first thing we give up. I need you to understand something that I learned probably my late 20s, early 30s, just from doing some serious soul searching, listening to a bunch of podcasts, listening to a bunch of things. And this has really been ingrained in me, and it's kind of the root of everything that I teach. The reason I'm so passionate about what I teach is because of this word worth. If I believe there are certain people that are better than other people, you can take my book and you can just throw it away. It doesn't matter. If I believe that, for instance, only extroverted people can have success, or only really pretty people can have success, or you have to have a certain skill, then you can just take everything we're teaching and you can just throw it down the toilet. The reason I'm so passionate about what I teach is because I truly believe that every single human has the exact same worth, the exact same amount of potential, that we are all equal. Now, this is where my country is about 100 years behind your country, but I hope we can all agree that humans, regardless of their gender, all equal. Would you agree? Show me some jazzies. Regardless of your ethnicity, equal. Jazzies? Regardless of sexual orientation or religion or anything else in the world, we're all equals. Can you show me some jazzies? Here's the thing I need to challenge you with. If we really are all equal, then that has to include you. Now, many of you sit around social media all day trying to remind people that they can lose weight no matter what they've been through, no matter how many times they failed, no matter how many times they've fallen on their face. You literally spend your entire day trying to convince people that anyone can do this, and then you look in the mirror and question whether or not you can. And this is tough because with other people, we don't see their dark side, do we? We don't see their failures. It's really, really, really easy to tell someone else that they can do this because we're not emotionally connected to the work they're going to have to do to get it, correct? It becomes hard for us because we're living with our demons. Our demons live on the inside of us. And what are those demons? Our past, our fears, our failures, the words that other people have spoken to us. And our limiting beliefs are constantly looking for a story to justify our fears and our excuses. Let me say that again. Our limiting beliefs are constantly looking for a story to justify our fears and excuses. So let me give you an example of how this works. If you have decided that only outgoing, extroverted, charismatic people can have success, do you know what you will do subconsciously? You will go follow every outgoing and charismatic Beachbody coach that exists, and you will watch all of their stories, and you will constantly remind yourself, see, I knew I couldn't do it. I knew I'm not anything like them. And you'll ignore the fact that 90% of the successful ones are introverts, right? If you think that you have to be absolutely gorgeous and you got to be this like bombshell, absolutely beautiful, gorgeous, dolled up, what will you do? You'll go follow the most beautiful Beachbody coaches in the world. I knew I couldn't do it. You have to be 100% perfect. You got to be a cover model. And you'll forget to notice all of the regular people just like you that are kicking ass. See, if we're not careful, guys, the beautiful thing about life is that we can manifest any story we allow ourselves to believe. But the negative side of that is sometimes we choose a story we never really wanted. And the hardest work you will ever do in your life is to simply convince yourself to actually receive the gift of worth that's already been given to you. Everything up here and everything out here is trying to convince you that you don't have what it takes. And what that really is, it's really your fears trying to keep you stuck because you're, as all of us are, afraid of the unknown. So many times we would rather sit in our own shit than face the fears that are waiting for us when we stand up. And so what you have to constantly do, I tell my leaders in my Push Elite group this all the time. You have to stop looking to your followers, to your customers, and your coaches. You have to stop looking outwardly for the affirmation you should have given yourself when you woke up in the morning. You have to take charge, and you have to get really, really, really good at looking yourself in the mirror and giving yourself the same advice you give everyone else. Do we have any moms on the call? Any moms? Not a single one of you would ever tell your kid that they're not pretty enough to have the success that they want, that they're not outgoing enough to have the success that they want, that they just don't have the right experience to have the kind of success. You would never, ever. What would you tell your kid? See, here's what we find out what we really believe in our heart is the kind of things that we tell the people that we love. The things that we tell ourselves have a lot more to do with what's in our head and a lot less to do with what's in our heart. And what you got to get really good at is taking time and space to find the voice of your heart, because the voice of your head is loud and it is shouting and it is screaming. And unfortunately, the way we're wired, it's also connected to our emotions that happen to flood our body. The voice of your heart It's really quiet. It's really calm. It's not honestly loud and outgoing like I am. It won't grab your attention the way I will. The reason I'm intentional about being so loud and out here is because I'm trying to outdo those fears and emotions to get your attention long enough to listen to what's in here. In your heart of hearts, every person on this call, I know, because you're human, you believe that you have what it takes. You believe that you were born to make a difference in this world, to change lives, to help people, to make a difference. Do you know how I know that? Because the human heart, or as I like to call it, your spirit, is perfect. It's perfect. Nothing missing, nothing broken. It doesn't have one single flaw. It is the true voice and the true flavor of you. All this other shit that you see up in here and around here, that's not your true self. Okay? Those are just expressions of self. There's a really big difference between true self and expressions of self. A lot of this has to do with what other people told us. A lot of it has to do with what we maybe liked, what we saw on someone else that we liked, that we're imitating. Really, not a single one of us on this call has our own unique hairstyle. I mean, we found a different hairstyle that we liked, or because we're all quarantined to our houses right now, we don't have a hairstyle right now. Whatever that is for you right now. Everything about our outer self, it's just an imitation of something else that we saw that we liked. But our heart or our spirit is our true self, and it is perfect, and it is flawless. And I need you to understand this. It's limitless. It has zero limits whatsoever. Napoleon Hill, who wrote the best-selling personal growth book of all times called Think and Grow Rich, said the only limitations that exist are the ones you create in your own head. That's it. You are perfect. You are flawless. You are like gold. It does not ever go down in value. It's timeless. And I need you to understand that. And I need you to realize that if you ever want to have the kind of consistency that it takes, and if you ever want to bring the kind of intensity that it takes, the number one job that you're going to have to do is work on yourself. You're going to have to spend time in books. You're going to have to spend time doing daily affirmations. If you're not doing affirmations, I'm literally begging you right now, if you take nothing else away from this call, make sure that every single day you are sitting down and doing affirmations, because doing affirmations is actually an exercise of the spirit. You are taking time on a daily basis to allow your true heart, your true spirit, to speak out into existence who you really are, so that you can line up your mind and your actions with your heart. Does that make sense? And the more you practice that over time, this magical thing happens. If you do it long enough, your head actually gets retrained by your heart. Have you ever watched someone and you're like, I don't even know how they do that. It's like it just comes so naturally to them. It's like, ah! That's because they spent enough time doing it that eventually their head became retrained by their heart. That doesn't happen overnight. And it's when you see talent, I'm telling you right now, you are not seeing the way someone wakes up. You are seeing what they trained themselves to become. My head had 30 years of improper training. And so I had to do some work to undo a lot of the damage that this world had done to it. You get what I'm saying? All of your doubts, all of your fears, all of your insecurities are just a product of the environment that you've been in but it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. You get what I'm saying? Now, here's the thing. If I can get you to work on yourself and do the right actions with the right energy, and then combine it with time. That's the fourth part of the equation. This is the only thing I want to say about time, is that time, like health and fitness, please get this, please get this. Time, like health and fitness, is different for everyone. Because some people showed up and had 50 pounds to lose, and other people showed up and had 5 pounds to lose. And you need to understand that you're all on your own journey. It doesn't mean someone else is better. It doesn't mean that you don't have what someone else has. The only thing it means is that some of you learned consistency years ago, and that's not a challenge for you. Others of you, this is the very first time in your life you are trying to learn consistency, and that's just going to take a little bit more time. Some of you learned intensity at other times in your life. Some of you have maybe some experience with sales, maybe some experience with customer service, maybe some experience with graphics and photography, and some of you don't. And the person who doesn't have any experience, it's just going to take a little bit longer, but that doesn't mean you can't do it. Some of you have a very, very positive self-esteem. Maybe you grew up in a house where you were loved and you were taught good things. And some of you came into this business with a really bad self-esteem. And that doesn't mean that one person is more capable of success. It just means that one person has a little bit more work to do than the other person. And I need you to stop comparing your journey to anyone else's, because unlike our health journey, none of us know how much weight we had to lose emotionally or mentally or whatever that was. Do you understand what I'm saying? People tell me all the time, Josh, I signed up the same time as this girl, and I've worked just as hard as her, and I can't understand why she's seeing this success and I'm not. Because maybe that girl only had 5 pounds to lose. I only made $500 my entire first year of business. $500 the whole first year. And yet, because I chose to see my weaknesses as strengths, I learned some things that people on the John Maxwell team weren't even teaching. See, my whole first year, I was like, man, I don't think I can do this. Everyone else on the John Maxwell team, first of all, is like 50-year-old white guys, and they all have like 30 years of business experience, and they've all been CEOs, and they all know all of these wealthy people. And yeah, sure, when they launched a coaching business, all they did was called up their 10 wealthy friends and said, hey, can I come do some leadership training with your business? And they're like, sure, come on over. And here I was, someone who'd played in rock bands my entire 20s and had zero connections other than 17-year-old kids that were coming to my concerts who did not want to pay for a life coach. And I thought, well, this sucks. They have all these advantages that I don't have. And then one day I said, you know what? I don't care who does or doesn't have the advantage. I'm committed to doing this, and I will find a way. And as a result, in year 2, I went to social media, which was something they hadn't taught on the John Maxwell team. No one on the John Maxwell team, this was 6 years ago, nobody knew anything about social media back then. Remember, I told you it was a bunch of 50-year-old white guys. None of them were using Facebook and Instagram. And I hustled my way to learning social media and becoming the first John Maxwell team member who built a 100% social media-based business where all of my coaching clients were done via Zoom. All of my training groups were done via Zoom. And then the entire John Maxwell team hunted me down to ask, what in the world are you doing that you're making tens of thousands of dollars a month from home? You mean you don't even go to business meetings? Like, you don't have to put on a suit and tie. You don't have to like travel around the country. No, I'm just sitting at home. What are you? And I realized, guys, that my greatest disadvantage became my greatest advantage when I changed my mindset about what was there for me. Please remember that the thing that currently feels like your biggest curse can turn into your biggest blessing like that with enough work. The fact that you're not like everyone else is the greatest thing you could possibly have. Because guess what? If you're like everybody else, that means you got a lot of competition and there's not much room for you. The greatest thing you can have is to be the one who's different than everybody else, because that means you've got a whole market just sitting, waiting for your gift because no one else is filling that spot. So please, don't judge yourself based on what someone else is or isn't doing or has or doesn't have. You be true to you. You put in the work it takes, and please keep the promise you made to yourself, to your creator, and to your family. All right? That's all I got for you guys tonight. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate you. I'm going to hand it back to you, let you take over. Thanks, Marie, for having me.
Thank you very much. It was so inspiring. And thank you also for the audiobook. I think everybody appreciated it. So thank you so much. Do you have questions, guys, girls? Non? Ça va? Pas de questions? Thank you again.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Have a good night.
Okay. Good night, guys.
Get sleep.